So this beautiful old tool back here is probably the favorite tool in my shop, or probably my favorite tool in the shop. It's around a 1942 Craftsman scroll saw. They actually called it a jigsaw according to the instruction manual that I found a PDF of online. And I've had it in my shop for, probably a bit over a year and a half, something like that. I bought it off of a guy on Facebook Marketplace. It was functional, but it was in pretty nasty shape. This whole thing was covered in some kind of oily grease. It was actually gray. I didn't even know it was blue until I started cleaning it with some soap and water. And that one thing led to another, and that turned into probably a week-long project off and on after hours of me cleaning this thing, taking it apart, quite literally stripping it down to the studs, replacing oil, lubing everything up and whatever, and getting it working again in a pretty good shape. It worked when I got it, but it needed some help. There was a bunch of little odds and ends that needed some work. Took it to a local guy, had him do some work on this aluminum body here that was kind of bent and made it so that the foot, when you dropped it wiggled a little bit too much when you tightened it down. It still does, but it's in better shape now. So the question then is, why am I getting rid of it? Well, it is an absolutely beautiful piece of machinery, American-made machinery, like they quite literally don't make anymore. Everything on here, you can take it apart. There's screws and bolts and everything, and I have. I've even taken the crankshaft. There's a crankshaft underneath. I don't know if we can see it in here. Well, there's an oil fill here that goes into it, and then this thing turns it, and that's what actually reciprocates the blade, or oscillates it, I guess. And I absolutely love it. However, it is absolutely massive, which is great, but I've never needed this amount of space, and what I do need is more space in my shop. So it is I don't know quite how large it is. It's probably the better part of 3.5 feet long, and while it's beautiful, it unfortunately takes up too much space in my shop. So I'm currently getting rid of it. Now, my parents were in town recently, and they saw some of the work that I was doing with it. I made some stuff for my nephews and whatever while they were here, and they decided to help me get a new one. So what I'm going to be doing in this video is actually taking the new one out of the box, unboxing it, I guess, and setting it all up. So let's go ahead and get to that. All right, so let's get to unboxing. I got the whole setup here. Not only did I have the saw, which is down here at the base, and I've also got a light that went along with it that attaches, and a stand as well. So I'm just going to start with the stuff that I can get to real quick, and I guess we'll just get to opening it up and seeing what all is involved. I think the light will be pretty simple, but let's go. So looks like we got some instructions here. A light bulb, that's nice that it comes with it. Looks like it's hopefully a fairly stock light bulb. And the lamp itself. So nothing too special in here, about like I expected. But I will tell you, this is a lot heavier than your normal desk lamp. There's a bit of heft to this, so it's kind of the quality I was hoping for with all of this. And I know it is made especially to attach to the scroll saw. So, well, enough dilly-dallying around with that. Let's go ahead and get to the saw itself. Holy cow. There's a note in here that says, don't lift the scroll saw by the upper arm, which of course is the easiest thing to grab in here. So let's see if I can get it out otherwise. All right, this is going to go on the ground for a second. Because I thought this box would be light. Got some more tools, screws and that kind of stuff in here. Ah, that's why. There is what appears to be a cast iron tabletop in here. I bet the box is a lot lighter now. Yep. The blower nozzle here. There we go. So it looks like some assembly is going to be required. All right, well that's it. Let me see if I can tip the camera down. Show you the whole kit and caboodle here. Oh, there's the dog. So, to be honest with you, so I know a lot of modern tools have kind of gotten cheaper over the years, but at least in terms of weight and heft, this thing feels pretty solid. I can't speak to obviously all the innards of it, but the first saw I ever had was a Dremel, and it was admittedly not a high-end saw. It was a starter saw, and I bought it off a Facebook Marketplace from a guy for, I don't know, 25 bucks. And it was mostly aluminum, so it was pretty light. The table, I think even the table was aluminum, so it was all metal for the most part, but it was pretty light. This thing is, I don't know if it's iron or steel or whatever it is, but it is decidedly not light. So I'm actually pretty happy with it, at least in the way it feels, and you know, there's kind of that general sense of quality, I suppose, if you will. So I am going to get to. I've got the stand over here, but I think I'm going to show that in a separate, I'm going to do some time lapse in a second while I'm setting it all up. It's just a bunch of metal, but I will tell you, it is also freaking heavy. It is not a light duty stand, so that's good. One problem I had with my other saw was that the stand itself was relatively light compared to the saw that was on top, and so even as heavy as it was, I still got a little bit of vibration here and there. Now, some of that's probably because it was 70, 80 years old. Anyway, you know, I'm guessing that played a part in it, but I'm going to go ahead and get this thing set up, and I guess I will come back once I do that, or maybe I'll do some time lapse. I don't know. We'll figure it out. See you in a sec. Anyway, it's all built. It went together pretty well. The instructions were okay, I suppose. There was a few things that, like this bolt here, yeah, it doesn't exist, or at least the hole doesn't, unless that's for the tool. I mean, there's a hole here and here, but there's nothing that mounts underneath of it, at least not as part of this stand. So maybe that's going to be for the tool once I get it on there. I don't know. I do have one extra bolt, which is always good, I suppose, but I don't really see a place where that bolt would have gone. So there doesn't seem to be any places for bolts to go that I didn't put one. So I know you didn't see it before, but this stand takes up a heck of a lot less space than my old one did. My old one went right up to this cabinet here. And I've now got, probably 12, 15 inches extra space here, which I'm planning on using for maybe some expansion down the road. I guess I got to decide. Of course, this is running sideways, and this tool, of course, is designed to be run with it facing out, like this. And that sticks out a little bit for my cabinet. I guess we'll have to see how bad it is once I get the actual tool on there. That might make it stick out more, which means maybe I'll just swing it in and out as I need it. Well, that is it for this. I've still got the saw to assemble. I'm gonna
probably pass on doing it. I got to start later on this in the evening than I wanted to, and I have a business trip tomorrow, so I'm going to probably have to let this sit and dream about it while I'm on my trip, and then work on it again once I get back. All right, it's been fun. Can't wait for the next part.
All right, well, I am back from my trip for you guys. It's just been probably a little swish that I'm going to do in editing or something like that, but it's been a week for me, and I can tell you that all I've really been looking forward to the entire week is getting back to my shop and finishing putting this thing together. So I'm going to go ahead and get the instructions out. I guess I'm going to try to do something of an assembly video in case maybe you get this thing and you don't get it brand new, you don't have the book, and you're just looking for a little bit of guidance. I know for me, a lot of times when I'm trying to learn about something, sometimes it's the little details that people think aren't important that are important to me, at least. So I'm going to try to do a little bit of detail into how I'm putting all of this together so that maybe you've got a partial unit or something like that. It'll all kind of click. Maybe you'll see something that'll just kind of solve all the problems that you've got or make something make sense. So we're going to kind of go through this and just make it all work. So it does say that everything comes assembled with the exception of the table and the blade. For the purposes of demonstration, there is a hole here in the back of the table, as you can see. And there is a peg or a pin right there. It's got a little bit of a gasket on it, so I'm guessing it's going to kind of snap on and kind of sit tight. So to do this, here. So as you can see here, there's a little rubber gasket there. The pin actually goes a little bit, if I can pull this out with one hand. Yeah, so you can see the pin goes a little bit farther than that. So trying to get this thing on, a little bit tricky, especially with one hand. I'm gonna put the phone down. All right, so you can see I've got it over that gasket. Underneath, it's just, you can see it better here. There's this. There's a hole that it goes into on the underside of the table. I do not have this thing set to 0 just yet, so the table is a little tilted, but I don't think that's a manufacturing defect. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this thing back in the my phone back in the cradle so we can keep on filming. All right, so right after I finished, I turned the camera off, I realized, read the instructions again, this pin needs to sit totally flush. I'm sorry, the table needs to sit totally flush up against this back mounting piece here, which means the pin needs to be fully engaged in there. So I'm just going to continue to try to get it situated. There we go. All right. So the next thing is there's a couple of thumb screws here. This one looks like it goes there. And this is for the blade. There's one there, and there's one on the underside. I don't think I'm going to be able to show you where that is, but I believe that is what you loosen to get the blade out. We've also got the material hold down. And there is also a thumb screw deal here. Yeah, I'm guessing that goes like this. I guess it goes like that. Guess I'll find out when I start using it. And it does say to make sure that this blade tension lever is all the way to the right before we put a blade in. I'll do that in a second though. And there's the air hose, which there's a, here, let me turn it. To be honest with you, the instructions aren't very clear where it goes, but this does have a big old cone-shaped nozzle here. And there's what looks like a ball joint there, which this would have to rotate around anyway. So I'm guessing
since this is the only place where something like this would even go in the first place. Well, it does say it's supposed to go there. Just doesn't seem to want to go. I mean, this is pretty firm plastic. I would expect it to be kind of flexible if it's going to snap around this metal ball joint here. I wonder if I'm missing a piece somewhere. There we go. Just had to persuade it to come off, right? Problem is, it's so can't really push down on it because it's so narrow. Wonder if I tried clamping it to my table. Let's try that. What I'm trying to do is clamp it this way. I can get it stable enough to just lean into it. It's pretty good. Apparently not good enough. I mean, the thing is, this plastic is just, it's so freaking hard. It doesn't give at all. I'd expect this piece to be made of some kind of a more of a rubbery material, and it's, you know, it's hard plastic. So I mean, even when I squeeze it, it doesn't really bend. This can't be that hard. But it is. God! Getting a nice little gouge in my palm. Alright, I'm gonna have to go check the internet. Alright, well I got it on, and all it took was just hitting it a little bit with a heat gun. I guess maybe a hairdryer would have done it, but I just had to kind of warm the plastic up enough to kind of make it a little bit flexible, and it just popped right on. Only took about 15 seconds of heating it, so that was that. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing assembled back, and or this plate put back on, and let's get this thing going. All right, well I got it all mounted. Front two weren't too bad at all. I did them upside down because these are carriage bolts, so they got the, you know, the square bit there that catches, and all of the holes in this frame or this stand have square holes, but the hole on the top part of the mount was round. It was only square on the underside, so I don't know if that was the intention or not, but it made it a lot easier to install doing it that way. And I guess I don't care too much about the aesthetics, only a little bit. The back one kind of sucked because on that one I had to put the bolt in from the top because there's another bolt coming in from the back just to kind of hold this back plate on, and I couldn't get the carriage bolt to go up and clear all of this. I did wound up having to take this bottom bolt out so I could get the nut over there and then put everything back together, but it all worked out. Seemed to all work out pretty well, and everything's getting tight, so I'll check on it periodically once I start using it in case of the vibration knocks anything loose, but it all seems to be pretty good. The only thing left is to go install this light kit over here. No. Where did I put it? Haha. This light kit over here. Got to find the mounting kit for it. Alright, so I have here the DW7881. It's the light kit specifically designed to mount onto this. And it goes on pretty simply. They gave me a star key here. All we do test it out. And it works. Awesome. So when it's all set up, that is the Delta DW788 scroll saw with the 7881 light kit on the 7880 stand. So all in all, it's a pretty slick kit. I'm anxious to get it going, but I think that's going to be pretty much it for this video. This was just for unboxing and setting it up and getting it going. So hopefully look for some content soon actually using this thing. Talk to you soon.